Cravings. We all get them, but why? And what can we do to control them?
In this episode, we look at the evolutionary foundation of cravings, common causes, factors to consider, and most importantly, how to manage them. Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James.
And me, Claire. It's that time again. Here we are. Another week done.
Oh, and we're going to be talking about something I'm sure is close to many of your hearts, which is controlling those pesky cravings.
I know, we all get it, guys, honestly. Mine is definitely the dark chocolate with a bit of peanut butter on it and the odd glass of wine for sure. But we've been hearing lots of people, especially with the winter months as well, in the UK. We've been hearing lots of our clients say how much they've been craving sugary things and starchy things, and we've had lots of questions being asked of us like, how do I stop it? How do I stop it? Or how do I control it? So that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, we've all heard about the dreaded lockdown pounds, and there's no doubt sitting at home, working from home, and potentially feeling a little bit bored as well, you will be tempted to snack more. So why is that, and what can you do about it? That's what we're going to be diving into today.
We are indeed.
So, the first thing to understand is we are actually programmed to graze and overfill as part of our evolution. We came from a hunter-gatherer society, so we're never sure where the next meal was coming from. So when we found one, we'd eat till we are fulfilled our nutritional needs, but we will keep going just because we're not sure when the next meal is going to come. And there's lots of research that bears this out around portion sizes. So people have looked at things like all-you-can-eat buffets and how much more people will eat there as compared to if they were just given a plate of food. Also, lots of studies with people giving plated food but different sized plates and different portions. And what I essentially found was we're programmed to eat by portion size, i.e. if you see the food in front of you, you will eat it.
I just want to relate this actually, because everyone will feel this. You know, when you go, when we used to be able to go to all you can eat buffets or go around people's houses where they had that selection of all different dishes, there's something that triggers within you to go, you know what? I need to try all of that. I just need I need to try that.
Was it
and then
Mr. Wu or Mr. U in Soho back in the 90s?
I
all
love
you can eat for $6.99.
I loved that place. Does anyone remember that place? What was it called?
Mr. U or Mr. Wu, I think.
In Soho.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can all relate to that, can't we? Where we've gone in somewhere and actually seen all this different food. And even if we're full up, we still feel this need to eat whatever is there and try everything. Well, that is completely evolutionary. Like James said, we are programmed to basically gorge ourselves because we do now, in modern day society, we do know that the next meal is going to come, and the next meal, very lucky, we're blessed, we do know that another meal is going to come. But genetically, evolutionary, we would look at that food and go, oh my goodness, I don't know when I'm going to be able to eat again. I don't know when I'm going to be able to go out hunting and actually be successful. So I'm going to eat all of it. The prawn crackers, the spring rolls,
crispy chicken balls. You get the idea. So we're programmed to eat by portion size rather than our nutritional needs. And this is one of my favourite psychological experiments of all time. They actually got diners in a setup and they have bowls of soup. So the question thing is, how much more would people typically eat if they weren't having controls put on them? This is what the researchers wanted to find out. And of course, it's different from individual to individual. But in this experiment, they had diners at a restaurant and they had bowls of soup. What they didn't know was some of those bowls of soup had a little tube going in the bottom and automatically refilled. So what they found was people who had the automatically refilling bowls of soup would eat on average 30 more.
Which is massive.
It is. And I think there's a lot of research around this. People generally eat 20 to 50% over if they haven't got the controls in place. If they can eat as much as they want to, they will eat more than they need to. This is going back to our evolutionary programming and the role of a genetic role of our hormones, basically saying, get it in now while you can.
Yeah, bulk up on some of that fat, bulk up some of that energy, because you never know when you're going to get your next meal.
Of course, that's annoying to us now because, as Claire pointed out there, most of us are very fortunate. We know that our next meal is coming. We're not in a scarce society, so it's not that helpful to have this driver to eat more than we need if we're looking at actually being healthy and managing our body fat down, for all the health reasons that we know are associated with that.
I do just want to quickly mention, actually, I read in a book the other day that actually, we need to look at our relationship with food as well. So how we were brought up around food. So obviously a lot of our beliefs and patterns of behaviour are formed when we are children, and actually what role food played in the house, whether it was don't leave anything on your plate, or whether you had siblings that used to eat all the food and you used to get none, whether you went to boarding school like James and you used to have to eat as much as you could as quickly as you could, because otherwise the big boys would come in and eat all the food instead. So it's actually really important to just know that you need to be compassionate with yourself as well with what we're talking about here, because evolutionary, you're designed to eat as much as you can, but also how we grew up and how food was positioned, whether it was from a place of love, being given food, it kind of sometimes potentially the replacement for love, food as rewards, well done, you did well, or no, you can't have this because you didn't do well. So it's a whole bundle of belief systems and memories that we have around food, and that's very, very ingrained in us.
Yeah, as well. Food is more abundant now. You've actually just reminded me there of some research people did looking at the average Sunday roast. So for those of you not from the UK, Sunday lunch used to be, still is, a traditional family meal where there typically be like a roast joint of meat with vegetable accompaniments.
You're making me hungry.
And what they found was, I think they looked back from the 1940s to now. And they said a typical Sunday lunch in the 1940s, I know we had like rationing and stuff, and also we have to remember socio-economic factors will play a role. But it used to be something like one slice of the roasted meat, one or two small potatoes, maybe another like boiled potato or mash, and a few veg. And they've had photos of it going through the decades, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can even see the size of the plate increasing. So I think they had one from the 2000 well, I guess it would be before like a pub Sunday roast now. Huge plate, like 3, 4, 5 slices of meat, 5 or 6 roast potatoes, 2 Yorkshire puddings.
Bit of stuffing.
The calorie differential was something like, back in the 1940s, that was, I'm guessing here, but it was around 400-500 calories in the meal.
It's 2,500.
2,500 to 3,000. So you can see the differential there just on one meal. But also, you'll know, going back to that portion size thing, if you're given a small plate with the food on it and you eat that, that's what you've eaten and you've fulfilled your initial needs. If that plate's twice the size of twice the amount of food, you might still go and eat the whole thing as well. So this is going back to the portion size. So we're telling you all this because it's very important to understand and have awareness of where the snacking drivers are coming from. But what can be some of the causes of it in our lives? Well, stress is a big one. Obviously, when we're stressed, our cortisol spikes, we perceive that we're in a threatened situation, the fight or flight response kicks in. Obviously, if we're priming for physical action, we're going to crave food that gives us a lot of energy. So we're going to look for things that are going to release energy quickly, high sugar, high starch foods. Which is why when we're stressed, we can reach for things like bags of crisps, cakes, chocolate, all those things that are going to give us energy quickly to see off the perceived threat or run away from it.
Yeah, and I'd also say on this, with stress, a lot of the time when you're in a stress response, your automatic behaviours will kick in because we want to feel comfortable again. So we want to feel normalised, we want to bring those stress levels down. So our behaviours to make us feel comfortable and normal per se will kick in. So that's where you will reach for those comfort foods, the things that are going to make you feel less stressed. So it's actually kind of a habitual thing as well. I feel stressed, I'd like to feel more comfortable, I'd like to feel more normal. So what's going to help me do that? I know what makes me feel good. Reaching for the bag of crisps, reaching for the chocolate. Oh, now I feel better, now I feel comforted. So automatically we're on a bit of a losing streak really when we're stressed, because those behaviours naturally kick in that you might not necessarily be aware of and actually aren't going to help you with your body goals.
No, and linked to that, it's interesting, a lot of these factors are interlinked. So linked to that, feelings of tiredness and fatigue. We can often in the day feel like, oh, I've got that energy slump, I need to grab a snack. Now, the problem with that is, a lot of the time when we're feeling tiredness or fatigue, it's not actually that we're hungry, there's not a nutritional need to get more nutrients into us.
Just want to feel more awake.
Yeah, when we feel more awake, often we can be dehydrated. In fact, our hydration levels can be low, we should be drinking more water. But this tiredness, fatigue, stress, lack of sleep can get into a cycle where you're feeling more and more tired, so then you're going for more and more high energy snacks to get the kick up, and it's dropping you down lower afterwards, what we call the insulin roller coaster. So you end up on this, what we call the kind of flywheel of craving, snacking, dumping, craving, snacking, dumping. It can be quite destructive.
And it can be really hard to get off of, actually.
The other thing to be happening is you've got low levels of the hormone leptin. Now, individually we all have different levels of that naturally, but leptin's basically triggered when we eat foods that are high in protein and high in fat. And it's the hormone that sends a signal to us telling us that we're full. Obviously, if we're going for the high sugar, the carbohydrates don't really trigger leptin in anywhere near the same way as protein and fats do. So this is why you can sit down with a tube of crisps going, I'm not really hungry, but I'll have a couple. Other brands are available. And then before you know it, you've finished the whole tube and you're eyeing the second one. Your leptin's not being triggered. And interestingly on this as well, there's a lot of research now that what we call ultra-processed foods, or UPFs, that are highly manufactured, also in some way override to an extent our normal hormonal response around food, and actually encourage us to put on more body fat. So researchers did a study where they fed two groups identical calorie amounts, but one group had natural foods, the other group had ultra-processed foods. And you'd think with the science of it, if everyone's doing the same calories in, the same calories out, controlled environment, the weights should have been the same. But they found that the ultra-processed food group actually put on more body fat than the healthy food group. And the thinking was because those are essentially emptier calories, so we're tending to eat more of them, and our body doesn't really know how to process them as effectively, so it's more likely to lay them on as fat for store for use later.
Exactly. I think we've kind of touched on this one, but another reason that it's kind of linked to feeling stressed, but another one is boredom, loneliness. Again, it's that habitual thing, isn't it? You're sitting, especially now when we're working from home, we're locked down, the fridge monster is there. You go to the fridge, automatically, you're not even really thinking. We're going to give some hints and tips, by the way, as we always do.
Of course.
But it's that whole thing of going to the fridge, grabbing the food, whatever's quick, and just mindlessly sitting there eating. And it's that whole act of grabbing something, eating something, grabbing something, eating something, that actually you're not even aware you're doing, and it's just so mindless. And I think one of the things that does shift people's behaviour is when they're more mindful of what they are doing. This is why we get people to actually keep food diaries in our 8-week programme, because they're not even necessarily mindful of what they're eating. So actually asking them to take photos and keep a food diary brings that awareness to them that wasn't there before.
Exactly that. An interesting one here, if you're suffering in particular from sugar cravings, this could be down to a deficiency in magnesium. Now, magnesium you'll get mainly from leafy greens and also red meat. So again, if your diet isn't good in the first place and you're deficient in magnesium, it could make you crave even more sugar. And of course, the other big one, alcohol.
Booze.
We can have a craving for alcohol itself, but also when we drink, we get other cravings. Who's ever had that? You sit down with a glass of wine and the next thing you are fancying a packet of crisps. So there's the cravings we get while we're drinking. It triggers us to want to eat more foods. But also post-drinking, the next day, we'll tend to make poorer choices in the foods we go for. Again, we'll be looking for those high starch, high sugar foods to rebalance our blood sugar levels after the alcohol.
Well, and also it's a depressant, right? So actually if you're feeling low anyway the next day, the alcohol has made you feel a bit lower, so you're looking for those carbohydrates that are going to increase that serotonin, so the feel-good hormones and things. So it's a double whammy yet again.
Yes. So let's look at some factors to consider before we get on to what to actually do. And we've broken this down into nutritional, physiological, environmental and mental. So the first one, nutritional, is basically, have a good look at your diet. Make sure that you are eating a healthy, balanced diet. Because, of course, one reason we haven't covered there for snacking would be that you are actually physiologically hungry. You're not getting enough nutrients or the nutrients and calories that you need. Although I doubt it, in today's society, we're very fortunate. But, the first step is make sure you are getting a healthy, balanced deal with the correct portion sizes. Make sure you're eating regularly through the day. Also, make sure your diet isn't too high in high-releasing sugars. So, avoid the high GI stuff. Go for low GI. Make sure you're getting enough protein, healthy fat to trigger that leptin. And make sure you're hydrated enough. And that should help you, keep the cravings at bay as a basic first start point.
Yeah, and just making sure, just speaking about sugars there, we've done an entire podcast on sugars and hidden sugars. You might actually not be aware that you're eating so much sugar, but make sure that you do check the back of packets of what you're eating, because we guarantee most of you are eating too much sugar.
There's a lot of hidden sugar in food.
Especially the processed stuff.
Exactly. Physiological wise, hormone balance is an internal job, but we can help at making sure that, we're not stressed, or we're practicing stress management techniques to bring our stress levels down, and that we are getting enough sleep so that we're not fatigued and adding to the stress problem.
The environmental factors, okay. So this is in your control, okay. Just making sure that you don't have the food that you are going to snack on, that you don't want to snack on, around the house. Here's the thing, a lot of our clients, a lot of you out there might have children, and even though you try to obviously feed them healthy snacks, hopefully, that they are going to want things like chocolates at some point and little crisps at other points. What we would say is just try to keep them out of your eye line. So if you know they're there and you have to buy them, try to keep them to a minimum, but also trying to keep them out of your eye line, because the more they're in your eye line, the more you'll be tempted to eat them. Again, it's an evolutionary thing. It's like that whole thing of going into a restaurant and seeing a whole platter of food. You're going to want to have it if it's in your eye line. And also try, if you can, to avoid other snackers. So actually, again, this is a thing that's come up a lot with our clients is, their partners might be snacking and that other people in the house might be snacking. It's just try and have something else available for you to snack on if they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'd say actually a really powerful one there. If you are around someone that is snacking, often they'll feel guilt about that. So they'll try and get you to snack as well. And how many times we had that, it's like, oh, go on, have one. Oh, go on, have one.
Have something else available for yourself.
Yeah, have something else available for yourselves, or just don't be afraid to say a firm no. Just explain yourself. Go, look, I'm trying to control this, so please don't put this in my temptation's way.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last factor, mental. We're going to talk about habits and triggers in a moment, but definitely a lot of snacking can be habitual. The other big factor, of course, can just be boredom. We're sitting there and we're feeling a bit at a loose end, so we think, I'll just have a biscuit or open a packet of crisps.
Exactly. So guys, what can we do to help us control and reduce the cravings that we're experiencing? So here's our tips. We've kind of touched on some of them, but we're just going to go through them in an orderly fashion. So making sure you are drinking plenty of water, at least 2 litres of water a day, I would say. And this is a little trick. I've always found it really difficult to remind myself, James, have you had water? I actually have a bottle of water on my desk in front of me now to remind myself to drink that water, because if it's not there, I won't drink it. Some people are naturally thinking, I'm thirsty. I don't have that. So I make myself very aware of how much water I've had by having a 2 litre bottle of water in front of me and working through it during the day. Yeah,
absolutely. You'd be so surprised actually by how many feelings of fatigue and hunger are actually dehydration.
Tiredness, absolutely.
We covered this one up, but ensure your diet is healthy, balanced, and you're getting enough protein to trigger leptin. When we're working with clients, we're always like, load up on protein, load up on protein, load up on protein, because it triggers your leptin. It's going to keep you feeling fuller for longer, as well as all the benefits of helping repair muscle tissue and all the rest of it.
We can't tell you how many clients come to us and say, I actually cannot believe how I am not as hungry anymore because I'm eating more protein. It still astounds us that everyone always finds that really like a massive game changer. So the other thing is, Practice stress management techniques. Now, we've done podcasts on stress management as well, so we're not going to go through what they are, but just really, really looking at your stress levels, because that will trigger so much behaviour physiologically, but also habitually. You're just going to be doing things without really realising it because you are stressed. So trying to manage that is really, really important.
Make sure you're getting enough sleep and good rest. So, make sure you've got good sleep hygiene and you're not waking up tired and going through the day feeling tired.
Please don't go to bed at different times as well. Try and keep your time that you go to bed, because your body will get into a natural rhythm. So if you'll keep messing it up and going to bed at 9:30 one night and then midnight another, it's all over the place. Your body will really not be appreciative of that. So also, like we've kind of said this, keep temptation out of the house if you can. If you're doing your shop, online probably these days, or going around the supermarket, just make sure that you are really limiting those temptations, because if they're there, you are going to eat them. And ensure your portion sizes are correct. We often use the hand portion size for our clients to get them started when they start working with us. So a lot of the time people say, I'm eating really healthily, but then we'll see their photos and their portion sizes are massive.
Or they're going too small and then getting hungry and having to snack.
Yes.
So it can work both ways.
Yes.
This is a big one. Learn your triggers. So see if you can work out what's actually triggering you to snack, and then start to practice distraction. So there's a lot of research around this. If it's like when you walk in the kitchen, you open the fridge door, you suddenly find yourself with a bit of cake or a yogurt or a biscuit in your hand, that's your trigger, opening the fridge door. So pause before you reach for the thing, and actually it's just about bringing awareness to it and be like, oh, do I actually want that? Or shall I do X instead? And X could be, I will make a cup of herbal tea, I'll make a cup of normal tea, I'll just walk around the house, I'll go for a walk around the garden, I'll read a chapter in my book. And often we'll find, right, there's a lot of research in this, if we can override that initial urge, the reaction to the trigger to do the behaviour, we'll displace it and we won't want to do the behaviour anymore. Especially if it's not coming from a physiological need to get more nutrients in, which it most likely isn't.
Well, this is where knowing your goal and your why is really important as well. So always asking yourself the question, or trying to remind yourself of this question, or even putting this question on the fridge door. Is this taking me towards my goal or away from my goal? So if you do need to snack, and you must snack, what should you go for, Mr. D?
Well, I think we've covered what not to go for, right? So
Exactly.
you want to avoid all the sugary, starchy, all the processed stuff, because you're just going to end up eating more and more and more of it. So what we need to be going for is the high protein, high healthy fat. But with a word of warning here, this kind of food will be nutritionally dense. It will contain a lot of calories per serving.
You only need a little bit.
So you need a little bit. What we always say to clients is, if you're feeling hungry or think you're feeling hungry, have a glass of cold water first, wait a little bit. If you're still hungry, then have your healthy snack. A very small handful of nuts, something like a bit of peanut butter,
That's
good
what I
quality
do.
peanut butter, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we kind of said, just eat a small amount. So here's the thing, you don't need to have that snack and eat an entire packet of biscuits or whatever it is, or even like a good snack, like James said, like nuts or peanut butter. You don't need to eat a lot of it because it is nutritionally dense. So just have a little bit, and then the key here is then to wait 20 minutes. Okay, we wait 20 minutes because that's how long it takes for your leptin to be triggered, also for your digestive system to say, hang on a minute, that's enough, I'm full. But the thing is, what we don't do is we don't wait. So we end up just having more and more and more, convincing ourselves that we're still hungry. So there's the thing, is have a big glass of cold water, have a small portion of a high protein, high healthy fat snack, a small amount, and then just wait and see what happens. And if you're still hungry, then what should you do?
have a little bit more. In all
Yeah.
seriousness, so clients have a little bit more. The last thing I'm going to do though is go, oh, I'm hungry, like open a bag of crisps or biscuits, because you just keep munching, and it all adds up over time.
So I hope we've kind of helped you realise there that there are lots of factors that are driving you towards snacking. Some of them are like absolutely evolutionary and genetic, and some of them are kind of habit-based. They are stress responses, they're automatic reactions, they're driven by you mindlessly doing things out of boredom, loneliness, whatever that is. So hopefully, here's the thing, we always say that you can only start to change something once you have awareness of it. So hopefully that's what this podcast episode has done, giving you some awareness of why you're doing it, what's going on, and then you have the power to change.
So yeah, hope you found that useful. As always, we'd love to hear your responses. You can contact us at themidlifementors.com. And remember, you can join our free Facebook group, the Midlife Mentors Community, where we hang out, posting content, answering questions, and where every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. UK time, we go live with our coffee time.
Where you can ask us any questions and we will ask. I mean, literally any kind of questions. So we really hope to see you in there. We love being able to interact with you and connect with you. And as James said, do keep in touch. Let us know how you find this episode. And we are sending you so very much love.
See you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.